who should be making our decisions? This is a very important question when it comes to governance and how you run a country. You see, decisions could be made when you're thinking about it. You could decide that we're going to select a representative, and that's the person who makes the most of the decisions. And that's the choice that most free countries, most democratic countries made, where there's the person who is in charge of making the main decisions for a country, the main decisions for an area. That's a representative. This is someone that the people choose because they believe this person, their character, their personality, their ideologies would select and make choices more similar, while there are experts in a field. So the person that makes the decisions for the healthcare in Trinidad and Tobago is the Minister of Health. The Minister of Health isn't necessarily an expert in medicine. The Minister of Health isn't necessarily a doctor. As it is right now, our Minister of Health, I believe, is a pharmacist. So the experts usually in our system, the system as it's intended as we have it, the experts are meant to be under the representatives. And the thing is, a representative, at least in most governments, doesn't actually even need to be professionally qualified in some kind of thing. Usually, sometimes the representative could be totally uneducated. But this representative is a person that the people want, the people trust, and they trust them to make the decisions even more than the experts. And who do you think should the decisions be laid at the feet of? Should it be more on the experts? The experts in our society are the ones who make the choices first? Or is it that the political representatives are the ones who make decisions first? And that's a question that I think is one needs to be understood when we're looking at the story we're looking at today. UNC, let technocrats carry out oil negotiations. And what they're talking about there is the Dragon gas deal, where Trinidad and Tobago has to work out a deal with Venezuela on how to procure some of their extra gas from one of their Dragon gas fields. You see, there's a field of oil and gas that is very close to the Trinidad and Tobago border, offshore, and it would be relatively easy. Now, I understand that the word easy is a weird word to put in there, but relatively easy to organized to allow for that gas to be piped right to Trinidad. The idea is that it's piped right next to the Trinidad border in the Dragon gas field there, over to one of the Shell platforms, which would also be inside the Trinidad border, right offshore there, and then we can bring it into the island. That's the idea. And they have to work out some negotiation. The US does not want anything that we give to Venezuela to provide monetary benefit to their president and his ruling party, because they are seen as being not very good leaders, authoritarians, not democratic, etc. So we have to figure out a way to pay them without actually paying them. And I believe the minister who went to negotiate on our behalf, Minister Stuart Young, he was talking about that, and they are confident that they would find some alternative to pay the Venezuelans without paying them cash. And okay, I don't doubt that they may indeed find that alternative. But what the UNC is saying here is the persons that they want to go out and make those decisions in the first place, the persons they want there negotiating, should be the technocrats, not the politicians. Okay. Before we dive into this story, make sure you hit that like button. If you are not yet subscribed, make sure you are now subscribed, and let's dive into it. Naparima MP Rodney Charles and the PM and the Energy Minister Stuart Young shouldn't stop negotiating oil deals on behalf of TT, and instead send TT's best and brightest energy experts to negotiate on the country's behalf. In a real country, Rowley and Young would be banned from carrying out negotiations without on-hand technical support from proven local experts in energy, finance, diplomacy, and law. Both Rowley and Young lack finely tuned nuance and proven diplomatic skills. They have no known qualifications, expertise, and or track record on energy matters. Okay. First up, as for their qualifications, Rowley being a geologist, he would have some qualifications in and around the field of energy and understanding those things. PhD geology, listen, a PhD geologist must understand oil and gas. A PhD geologist in Trinidad and Tobago, like, I understand he may not be your favored politician, he may not be my favorite politician either, but let's be real. A PhD geologist. Geology is the study of ground, of the rocks, of the soil. Like, come on. He knows a bit more about oil than the regular person. And the irony in what the opposition member said there, he said as part of the negotiating team, they should have someone who is an expert in law. Well, isn't Stuart Young a lawyer? So I mean, in terms of their general qualifications, I think they are generally qualified in some of the same fields he's talking about there. And then, as I was saying originally, this begs the question of who is it that should be doing the negotiation? So he said two different things there. That one, they shouldn't negotiate without the on-hands help, or two, who should be doing the negotiation on a whole. Okay, so if we're talking about help, I don't know for sure, but I don't feel like the government is going to do these negotiations and don't consult any advisors. I just don't think that is a right conclusion to make on the negotiation. I don't think they're going to do these negotiations without consultation of any experts. So if you're talking about consultation, I am reasonably certain the government will tell you that, yes, they are consulting people. They are doing all of these things under advisement. So that part, okay. But if you're talking about the negotiations on a whole, and that's nearly the tone he has of it, that these negotiations should be carried out by the experts. Really? Really? And here's the thing. Experts are not elected. I feel like the opposition is being a bit dishonest in some of their conclusions there, because I feel like, can you imagine what would have happened if this PNM government in Trinidad and Tobago, if our government took it upon themselves to go and select experts and intellectuals of their choosing? Remember, they would be choosing them, experts of their choosing, to go over and do negotiations on Trinidad's behalf. I could easily picture the opposition saying, nobody voted for these people. Who are these people to speak on behalf of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago? Nobody voted for these experts, and they're going there making negotiations on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And bear in mind, the negotiations already have a certain kind of shroud of privacy and secrecy, because that's the nature of business. They say that's what they need. Okay. Can you imagine that secrecy with unelected experts selected by the PNM? Like, what do you think is going to be the outcome of that? Experts who don't have the voters to face, they don't have the electorate to face, they don't have to worry about getting re-elected, they don't have to worry about going and speaking to the regular citizens on a walkabout. No, they're experts. And then they have secrecy. Like, who really thinks that's going to be a good idea? I think they aren't being honest on that evaluation. City is yet to see their proficiency as accomplished negotiators. Both men are not known to be experts in international law or finance. Therefore, we have to ask, if they have none of these things, what are you going abroad to do? The two men negotiate with highly qualified energy experts from some of the world's largest Fortune 500 companies, while TT sends two novices unaccompanied by local experts, the experts probably laughing at us behind closed doors. Okay. But here's the thing. That is the reality of governance. If we elected a doubles vendor to be our prime minister, when we send our prime minister to negotiate, it's going to be a doubles vendor negotiating. That's the nature of politics. This isn't something that has now fallen upon this new style of politics. You know, this is a new style of politics that has fallen upon us, and we're not sure about what we're doing here. This is a strange thing where you vote for people and then you don't know that this is the person that goes and makes the decisions and makes the negotiation. That's actually the idea of voting. That's what you're voting for when you're voting. You're voting for the leader of the country that goes and makes those decisions on your behalf. That's what the leader does. We would not want, as I was just saying, we would not want a leader in this case to delegate all of that all of that responsibility to unelected professionals. This kind of talk, and the thing is, I don't actually believe that the UNC wants this. I believe if the ruling government did exactly this, they would say that they sent a bunch of PNM stooges to go and sell out the country. No one voted for these people. These are unelected PNM stooges. The PNM financiers went there and did negotiation to help out the PNM. That's what would have happened very likely. And I might have been on their side with that accusation. If the PNM selected some people that they choose to go out and do these decisions on our behalf, I would not have liked that personally. That's not what I want. That isn't what I want. You see, I don't have the belief that the experts are the best decision makers in a given scenario. That's not true. That's not true. Experts have vested interests, so they could decide things based on their vested interests. Their vested interest may not be the advancement of Trinidad and Tobago's general economy in that way. Who knows? Who knows what the experts' view is? That's why the nature of a political system is the person that all of the country, the citizens, if you think about what a prime minister is, or at least is supposed to be in the democratic sense, it's the idea is we go out there and ask the country, hey, everybody in this country, who do you want to lead you and to go out there and make decisions on our behalf? And we all come together and choose one person. And that one person now would go out and speak to the other tribe on our behalf. Now, granted, they may not be an expert in every single field, but the idea is that this person, we hopefully trust that they have the kind of sense to consult with the experts up before making those decisions. So, like with the Dragon Gas negotiation deal, I don't know all who went on the trip, but the deal isn't finalized yet. How could you say that they didn't consult any experts when the deal isn't finalized yet? Isn't it at all possible that they went and negotiated and then they both on each side would have consultations to do with their experts? Like, I don't agree with this criticism at all. I really don't. Mr. Charles then went on digging into Dr. Rowley and Mr. Young. He said between October 2015 to September 2022, Dr. Rowley racked up 1.8 million in tax-free per diems for official travel, while Young pocketed 809,899. But Titi has nothing to show for it. Here's the thing with that. I don't know. I don't know what Titi has to show for it. I suppose the Prime Minister and the Minister of Energy would have to come out and give an itemized view of that. But in terms of the things that shock me and annoy me about government spending the most, official travel is not one of them. Official travel is official travel. And in nearly every single modern country, there's a lot of official travel. That's a lot of what you do, make decisions on behalf of the country, so you have to go and speak to another country on our behalf. I don't know what's the profit of it, but I don't know what's the itemized profit of it from 2015 to now. I don't know, but to make it seem like it's something strange, I disagree. Charles said Rowley's offer of the Petrotrin refinery to the altar of Guyanese Titi Energy Corporation while in Georgetown cemented an unsavory perception of the country. Of all the things Rowley could announce in Georgetown to such a distinguished audience was his willingness to palm off a moribund scrap iron refinery to global energy experts who understand everything they need to know about refinery operations. And I disagree totally with that. Like, okay, there may be some arguments to make around the closing down of Petrotrin where that's not where we're going now. But in terms of offering the refinery at an energy conference, where else should he do that? Like I really dislike this attitude that we see from our opposition, where it seems like they just criticize everything the government does instead of trying to find an avenue to critique it, where you could show that, okay, instead of this, we should have done that. Show the instead of just saying this is bad. Okay, that was bad. Carnival was the mother of all flops. This was the mother. Like, who are you attracting with this kind of dog barking at the wind kind of attitude? You're barking at every bit of wind that passes. I don't know who would be attracted by this. Okay, the refinery closing in and of itself may have a point to argue, but if you have a refinery in our country, if we have a refinery in our country that is down at the moment, and you want someone to buy it, lease it, run it, something of the such, wouldn't an international energy conference be the precise place to make that announcement? Like, I don't agree that this somehow was an insult to the distinguished members. How dare they make an offer of a refinery of oil in an oil and gas energy conference? Like, okay, that's an insult? How? How is that an insult? It really is not. According to those present, this is Mr. Charles going on here. According to those present, senior Guyanese officials looked at each other in utter dismay and disbelief on hearing Rowley's ill-conceived, poorly timed, and foolish sales pitch. Yeah, I don't believe any of that happened at all. Like, you as a Guyanese official would be like, oh my goodness, the Prime Minister of our energy neighboring country has offered us, would you believe, their energy services? The audacity of this man. How can he offer us some energy service that they have over there, seeing as we're an up-and-coming energy producer? Such a dastardly thing for him to do. It reinforced an unfortunate narrative taking root in Guyana that Trinis believe they are inherently more intelligent. I read some Guyanese news and I just happen to be close to some Guyanese people. And this is true. There is that belief where many in Guyana believe like Trinis act like, you know, they're smarter than the Guyanese. They believe like they're smarter than everyone. But I don't think this move would have reinforced something like that, because it's not an attempt to hoodwink someone. It's bringing someone up on a level playing field. When Guyana wasn't up on this level, we'd have never offered them our own refinery to run. No, that's not how that works. So I'm not sure who would take an insult out of this. And I don't think this is an opinion that is taking root in Guyana. This is an opinion that has taken root in Guyana for a long time now. The friction between Guyanese and Trinis, and the attitude that the belief that Trinis have an attitude of superiority to the Guyanese, that isn't some kind of narrative that is now forming in Guyana. That has been a part of the Guyana-Trinidad relation for a while now. And we saw some of that with the whole ramps logistics and the attempt to, I mean, don't use get around, but the attempt to work with their local content secretariat over there in Guyana. If you don't know that, look up some of my videos on that. So that seemed to be the crux of his matter. It played into a false narrative that Trinis are all smart men and women interested solely in feeding off the Guyanese trough. Why is an attempt to go into a business relationship with the refinery we have an attempt to swindle the Guyanese? Like, that's silly. And why would a local politician insult Trinidad for the benefit of Guyana in a statement like this? I find our opposition is so misguided and so lost. It's ridiculous, the opposition we have. And the worse our opposition gets, the worse our prime minister or government can get away with. The worst things they can get away with. They could literally do nearly anything they want because they know the opposition is inept and they're going to argue with every single thing, so they don't even have to worry to answer the opposition's critiques. When the opposition raises questions, the prime minister and the government don't even have to answer it because the opposition raises questions and arguments about every single thing. No one takes it seriously anymore. Anyway, tell me what you think. Do you think that this was actually, I am wrong, this was actually a really good line of questioning, and really and truly, who should be out there making decisions on our behalf are the experts in the country? Or do you agree with me and think that, no, it's the elected officials that always go out there anyway, and arguing for arguing's sake for every single decision that the government makes does not make a good opposition? Tell me what you think. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you in the next video.